for stopping by the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the real of reality TV.
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feel so.
All right, what's up, everybody? I'm going to try this again. I did this recording earlier and somehow it got muted in the process. I don't even know how that happened. And I try my best to double check before I upload. But at any rate, it was early. So let's just go ahead and get into this again. So just going to make this real quick and brief. But you all know Ralph has desperately been just trying his best at his friend role on the Real Housewives of Atlanta while he's going through this divorce with Drew to be an official peach holder. He wants to be, I don't know if he wants to be the middle peach holder, but he definitely wants to be somewhere close to that middle because the fact that they gave this clown confessionals, the fact that they allowed him to sit up and do scenes with Portia and Shamia talking about Drew and him sitting up there with his shirt, with his whatever he had on, no shirt on. So he didn't even have a shirt on, doing confessionals with his jacket, taking the Martell whole role of just being in a place where he really does not need to be. He is now whining and dining with other cheaters like Mendices from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and that's no surprise. That's no shock. All right, guys. So I've shared my screen and make sure the sound is off. But here you can see he's toasting out with Mendici, somebody else that's behind. We can't see. But here he is filming it with his with his cell phone. That's such a female thing to do. Like, what man do you know goes out for drinks with other guys and he's sitting there filming it to post on the gram? It's creepy, but he's a creep. So that's not a shock. You know, I don't know who these other hands are behind this, side that we can't see. I wouldn't imagine it would be Martell because, I would assume that everybody was picking up their own tab. So they all had separate checks. And we know Martell, he's not really able to afford that right now. The Love and Marriage Huntsville show is not filming. At this point, I don't think they are. And if they are, I can't see that he's really making a ton of money. But at this point in time, Ralph, he's dining with Mendices, who has been exposed, and Yandy allegedly has been exposed. But he consistently is trying to expose Drew. So here he goes. He's putting out text messages about things that we heard about on the show, defending himself, trying to expose Drew as being a cheater, that she was allegedly messing around with Ty Young, who's been on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. She was supposedly dating Mimi Falls before. She's right now on Basketball Wives, and she's allegedly dating another chick that's on there that has affiliations in Atlanta that goes by the name of Ming Lee. And then he drops these alleged receipts to show that she's been cheating with Ty Young. Listen, we don't care. We don't care if this is even true. And honestly, it doesn't really prove much to me. I'm just saying, I know a lot of people love to say Drew is a liar. They don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. She's an actress. But this is what Drew, like, I feel, my personal opinion, she may have played around and kissed a girl and liked it or whatever. Hey, to each their own. But also, I feel that because Her mom is a minister. Her mom and dad were married for years, and until he passed away, that's all her, I'm assuming, the only man her mom has been with. And she wanted to have that same type of life for her and her husband. But big mistake. She didn't even know Ralph. Ralph didn't know her, but Ralph, he saw his prey. He is a predator. And Drew fell for the okey doke. And now she's going through hell trying to get out of this marriage with this man while he's living downstairs in the basement. All right. So dropping these receipts. I don't care if this chick, and he had pictures of her with her head in between this one's legs. Not that I want to see that. I really don't care to have that visual. But I'm just saying, even if he showed us that, I would not care. I would not care, because the fact of the matter is what he's trying to do, because it doesn't matter what he proves to social media. It's all about what happens in court, what the courts decide, and ultimately the divorce isn't finalized yet, and I don't believe what the actions that he's taking, doing all the stuff on social media, is really going to help him in the long run. I hope it doesn't. I actually hope it hurts him. But what he's doing is he wants for this pylon that has happened with Drew, because there are some people who don't like her and they call her a liar. He wants to put that narrative out there to just dogpile on her to make it even more so called official that, yeah, Drew's a liar. All she does is lie. And I actually wasn't the one cheating. She was actually cheating. She was cheating on me. And I'm not here to sit and say that if a female engages in sexual things with another female while they're married to a man, that doesn't equate to cheating. I'm not going to say that. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are not going to look at that the same way they would if she was with another man. So now, with this narrative about the dude Black and her allegedly dating this guy named Black, I again also feel that that is something to try to disparage her name and make her look bad in this divorce situation. So I want to know what you guys think about it. So you let me know your thoughts. And speaking of divorce, we got to talk about this because I hadn't had a chance to talk about it yet, but we already know it has been made official that this one here is returning to the Real Housewives of Potomac for season 10 in a friend role. Now, when I initially saw this news, I was like, oh my God, here we go. I wasn't a fan of hearing that news, but I'm also not a hater either. Get your check, get your money, do what you got to do. We know she is no longer married. She was on the show before, married to somebody who was extremely well off and well capable of living the type of life that she wanted to exist in. And now she no longer has that. So to return to the show, to be honest with you, I didn't think that it would ever happen. So I feel that she got lucky, but yeah, she's coming back in a friend role. And then the question is, who is she going to be a friend to? Because Karen isn't there right now. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is my personal opinion. She could have been another Karen, maybe not this exact same situation, but if you recall seasons ago, she was drinking a lot. She was drinking a lot and she crashed her car. And her then husband, Chris, came and picked her up from the scene and had the car towed to the house. And that's actually a crime. You're not supposed to leave the scene of an accident, even if it is just a single vehicle accident. It doesn't matter. That car was so smashed up. And she was drinking a lot. I personally feel that she was drinking and driving. She claimed she fell asleep behind the wheel, which I'm not going to say that that's not affiliated with alcohol, because we all know alcohol is a depressant and it makes you sleepy. So you could say, well, she wasn't drunk, she just fell asleep. Yeah, she was drunk and fell asleep behind the wheel. My personal opinion, I'm saying allegedly, but like I said, I'm saying that's what I believe. So Chris, he definitely was a misogynist and probably a bit controlling and all of the things of the things. But I do believe that that man really did love her. And I feel that he did cover for her, especially in that situation. And the other thing, too, is when they were on the show and she was all about marriage. Why are people coming for marriages? And they're coming for my husband. They're coming for my marriage and all these different things. Marriage, 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 and now she's coming back single. It's weird to me that we already know the housewife show, you do not have to be married. You do not even have to be a fiance. You could be just single, a divorcee, whatever. These days, anybody and everybody can be on the Housewives shows. You don't have to be a wife. Definitely, you don't have to be a housewife, right? But it is weird coming from that space of where she was actually one of the only ones living in Potomac and married to be coming back to the show, no longer married, no longer, I believe, living in Potomac. Now you really do need the check. I really miss the days where, and maybe it was never like that for the most part with the Real Housewives of Atlanta, but I do miss the days when people who were on these shows, they weren't on the shows because they needed the check and they were looking to bolster a business or create a business or something like that. They had the money. They didn't, like she said, need that little check. But now it looks like she needs the little check. So somebody says Monique always pretends she hates reality TV so badly, but here she is again. Somebody else said, "Where's Candace? We want her back too." Another person said, "Whose friend? For as much shit as she talks about not coming back, I wanted to see her keep that promise." And I would agree. And somebody else said, "Didn't she say she was never returning back to the show?" And yeah, I agree with that as well. And so somebody else said, "I think people in the comments are forgetting Monique was that girl that had the entire season about her. I'd love to see it." Was and is are two completely different things. And honestly, I don't feel that she is that now. It actually looks a bit awkward and weird for her to be coming back. We see her right here in the background. She's at this event, some pride event where Giselle is. I don't know if that's Monique back there. Can't really see her, but here she is right there. So it's kind of weird. And again, it gives back credence to the situation with her and Candace. When she was on that season where she was ramming Candace's head into that picnic table at the wine tasting at the winery, and Candace was, yeah, ego bruised, but definitely physically bruised. She was taken away and tried to come back for seconds. And when she had that scene at the house with her now ex husband, Chris, and the pastor that came over and they talked about the situation, when Monique said in that scene, "Oh my God, I didn't, that girl didn't deserve that. I was taking out my anger and frustrations on her about other stuff that had nothing to do with her." I would love to have seen her come back if she claims like she claims here, come back when Candace was on the show and say that to Candace's face.
On. Every time I've been asked, I've been like, no. Even this year, like literally, I said I declined probably a good 7 times. And then something happened. Something changed. And I was just like, I'm not the person that I was. And a lot of the reasons that I said no was because of the person that I was, And I'm not her anymore. So, what better way to test my healing?
That's weird. Here's the thing. Listen, guys, we do grow, we evolve, hopefully. Some of us don't. But yeah, you're not that girl anymore, meaning you're no longer married. You are maybe no longer bitter, but you were the one that was wrong. And if anybody deserved a like real apology, it would have been Candace. So the same way we saw Giselle and Wendy sit down, when to be honest with you, their stuff was extremely petty, really petty. But even Giselle, for the sake of keeping that check, because she ain't got nothing else going on, she was willing to sit down. Well, she not just willing, she had to. And swallowed her pride and sat down and made nicey nicey with Wendy, even to the point where it's just so fake where you're like, well, maybe we're besties now. Girl, please. I really wonder what Robin thought about that scene. I wonder what she thought when she saw that, if she even watched it. But I would love to have seen something between Monique and Candace, because I really do believe that at one point in time, Candace and Monique were cool. If not maybe really, really great friends, I believe that they were cool. They probably have so much distance between them now, and things are just really different. And now Candace is a mother and she's still married and she's probably still hurt. Eagle probably is still bruised. And we know she cried a lot into those, what what Ashley called those cry angles. I can't stand Ashley, but that was funny. And I like Candace. But I'm saying we would have loved to have seen those two, I believe, sit down and have a conversation. And maybe they would never get along ever again, but just to have the conversation on camera versus you claiming you have been asked to come back multiple times over the years, but because of a lot of fear and PTSD, now you're saying, I'm not worried. I put my ego in check a long time ago. Girl, I don't buy it. I don't. I don't buy that. Yeah, you probably were afraid of the judgment. PTSD, I don't like people using that term lightly because I know what that really is. And I'm just saying, it's not fair for her to talk about how, oh, well, I'm I'm no longer in that place. I'm a different girl now. Are you really? Or are you just a woman who's a little bit older and who's divorced now and no longer married? So now you're feeling a little bit more free. Now I ain't gonna lie, she looks good. She looks good. She looks healthy, all that good stuff. No hate towards her whatsoever. But I'm just one of those people. I try my best to be on the side of right. And even with that situation, because I said before, I liked Monique up until that happened. And the fact that she still was making excuses for the situation after it happened, I was just like, you know what, I can't rock with her whatsoever. And then she made herself look worse on Love and Marriage DC. And now I'm not saying that Carlos King doesn't have his faults because he has a lot of them, but I do believe that he got a lot of the blame for the way she claimed she was portrayed on the show when ultimately you gave them what they put out there. Yeah, some things probably was chopped and edited, and that stuff happens either way. But I think she was just expecting more of Carlos because he was a black man. So for her to say, I was done worse by him than the white people, and then you go back to the so called white people to get that white check. I don't have any respect for her. I don't. And I'm just saying, and this person said a comment right here that I said, letting Monique back, but getting rid of Kenya is diabolical. I agree. And this is what I said about the Real Housewives of Atlanta, guys. I said Kenya was wrong for what she did, especially taking the time and energy to do that in her place of business. But they could have at least let Kenya continue to film and come to the reunion because they let this heifer stay filming. She didn't film with Candace anymore, but she came to the reunion. Somebody else says, so she's promoting her book and doesn't have the money and status she used to have when she was married. Got it. Hmm. Ah, yeah, da, da, da. Somebody else said, I've always liked Monique for her fashion sense. However, I still did not like how she did Candace. And it was obvious that Giselle didn't like her and used her to attack Candace and then hide her hand. Also, I feel that Andy Cohen didn't care for her either, how he would talk to her during the reunions and take Giselle's side with everything. I'm hoping that Monique got help for her childhood traumas of being picked on and now is changed and can give the aggression to whom it should belong instead of trying to fit in. Somebody else said, I wish she would have said no the eighth time. Somebody else said, I'm not a Monique fan. She lies too much. Monique was my girl until she put her hands on Candace. Yes, Candace has a smart mouth, but it was Giselle, Robin, and Monique's so called best friend who tried to destroy Monique's family. And the only thing Monique did in return was create a tired binder of tea most people knew already about the pastor. I'm glad she said she put her ego in check, but it's okay to say that I'm back because I also needed the money and I miss being on TV. I truly hope Monique's return is successful and leads to her being full time. Now, I can get with this comment because, like I said before, I like Monique up until the Candace situation. So it's kind of refreshing to see somebody else who was in agreement with me when it comes to that. But that stuff about you put your ego in check, I don't buy it, especially when you're here trying to convince everyone, oh, they've been asking me back so much to the point of you're almost making it seem like they were begging you on hands and knees to come back and you just finally decided to give in. Um, Whatever, girl. Bravo asked her 7 times to come back. Why? She is not all that. She makes it seem like they begged her to come back. Oh my God, guys, I didn't even see that comment until just now. So that person agrees with me. That's cool. But I'm just not. I'm just not buying the fact that they begged her to come back and they really needed her that bad. Read a few more comments here. Something happened, something changed. Yeah, you got divorced and need to pay your bills. I am mad at it one bit. I loved how she got Giselle together with that binder. She had fear when she was the one giving uppercuts. That's what I'm saying, guys. She beat the crap, she beat the brakes off of Candace, and still to this day has not apologized to that woman. And actually, remember, she made a song making fun of the situation, calling it drag queen. I never listened to it, but just when I heard about it, I was like, yeah, I'm not listening to that bull crap. It's just it solidified to me the fact that she definitely knew what she was doing and she didn't care that she took her aggression out on that woman that did not deserve it. I'm sorry guys, I get it. Sometimes you hear about I hear about, but you hear people that have smart mouths and you feel like they deserve to get themselves dragged, slapped, punched, beat down, stomped, kicked, all of that stuff. We all have the visions in our mind of taking somebody out and down who has a really smart mouth and feel like they just need to be taken down a peg or two, right? Yes, absolutely. But we don't do it. We're not in elementary, middle, or even high school for that matter. And the fact that this woman who had children, who was married, and all of that, and had it I mean, it seemed like an okay life to do that. It's crazy. Somebody else said fear, PTSD. Did she get beat down on national TV by someone she called friend? Checked her ego, but waited until Candace was off the show so she didn't have to apologize to the person she betrayed and assaulted. God, I do not want this woman back. And I have to agree with that one. Baby, bye. You need that check. And that's okay, but stop the lies, girl. Somebody else said Monique lying. She need the money. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Laura, she finna come back acting entitled and shit. Somebody else says she needs a check. Why is she making a million excuses as to why she came back? And this goes back to the ego not being put in check and also the fear of judgment. She does not want to be judged and seen as, you know what? I was married. I was in this amazing place financially. My man was really making that bread. And yeah, I may not have been extremely happy, but I was okay and people were judging me based on my life and the life that I was living. I loved it, but now I'm not living that type of life anymore and I don't want people judging me, looking at me like Giselle. And I don't think anybody's going to look at her like Giselle, but I'm just saying it's different. And also when she was somebody who was putting a lot of judgment on Giselle being single, not being married anymore, talking about the ex-husband and all that stuff. It's like the Bible says the same judgment that you judge others with, you get that back in return when you judge like that. And hey, I'm not sitting here judging a woman. I'm just basically talking about what she put out there. These people put themselves in these positions and pedestals to be on these shows, to be viewed, and even if they don't like it, judged. It's a part of what you're getting paid for, girl. So stop it with the talking about fear and PTSD. I'm not buying it one bit. But I want to know what you guys think. So let me know your thoughts in the comments about Ralph and his ridiculous ways, trying to get a peach and trying to expose Drew when we really don't care who she was kissing and allegedly screwing. And what do you think about Monique talking about she's just been asked so many times to return to RHOP that she just finally said, you know what? I got time today. Let me go ahead and tell y'all yes so y'all can stop asking me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys.
Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.